Hello, everybody, and the top of the morning to you. Kelly, are you happy St. Patrick's Day, man?
Happy St. Patrick's Day. I can't believe it's March already.
Yeah, no kidding. Are you Irish at all? You have an Irish name.
Yeah, Kelly Shores is kind of Irish sounding. I had a crush on a girl in like 5th grade named Shannon O'Brien. You don't get
Oh
more
yeah.
you don't get more Irish sounding than that. And then funny enough, my grandmother doesn't see very well and she lives in Kansas City, and she kept telling me about this Irish quarterback that they had for the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes. And I said, I don't know, Grandma. You might want to check that. Uh, and full disclosure, actually, we're recording this the day before the Super Bowl, so we don't actually know who won. It's not actually St. Patrick's Day, so hopefully that Irishman, Patrick Mahomes, had some lucky charms when he won the Super Bowl. You have a preference this year?
You didn't answer my question.
Am I Irish?
Are you Irish?
No.
Are you Irish? You're not
Irish. Nine hootie.
I did the DNA test.
Oh yeah? What's I thought you were Texan. I thought you were Milam and Rusk. If you're ever at the corner of Milam and Rusk.
I'm 14% Irish.
14%. So was this 23andMe or was it
Ancestry.com.
Ancestry. Okay. You spit into a cup?
Yep.
Huh.
And mostly
I don't actually believe they do anything with that spit. I think they just send you back sort of a random thing.
Yeah, but it couldn't be too random because, I mean, they don't have a picture of me or anything.
Dude, it's all over the internet. You're famous.
Oh, okay. That's true. So you think based on what I look like, they got like this guy's looks like he burns when he's in the sun. He's
right. He looks a little red,
pasty.
Well, 14% Irish. So I definitely feel like you should be an expert on today's subject.
Yeah, so I thought maybe we could abandon our regular format of surprising each other, and as we've done on some of these other saints, let's see, what saints have we talked about?
Saint Valentine,
Saint Valentine, and Saint Nicholas,
Mother
and
Teresa.
Mother Teresa. I guess Mr. Rogers wasn't a saint. I mean, he
was, but
saintly, but he was a Lutheran minister, so that probably disqualifies him from being a Catholic saint.
Yeah, the Pope didn't recognize it,
but we do. And
hashtag unrecognized saints.
Yeah, I think that's the only ones we've done. But we tend to like saints on this show. We tend to like to talk about who these people are. It's kind of fits in our wheelhouse of people you've heard about, but I guarantee nobody knows very, very many things that St. Patrick. This might be the oldest person that we've done too. I don't think we've done anybody older than this, right?
Yeah, we're gonna have to get into cavemen and stuff if we're gonna do.
Yeah, they don't get much older than this.
No, Nostradamus?
No, because that was the 1500s, I think.
Oh, okay.
I have to go listen to the show.
Yeah, again, I've kind of forgotten on that one. Yeah, when was St. Patrick born? Like 300, 400 AD or something?
432 is the best guess.
Okay.
That they have of this.
Yeah, and it was like October 4th, 432 at 6 p.m.
They think it's about the 5th century as well as they can do. In fact, he's so old, and this would be St. Patrick we're talking about, or as they say in Ireland, Padraig. Saint Padraig. He's the primary saint of Ireland, but he's so old that he was never actually canonized because he lived before the canonization laws. They still consider him a saint, but he didn't have to jump through all the saintly hoops that somebody like a Mother Teresa would have to jump through.
Right. Yeah, he kind of grandfathered that. He was grandfathered in.
He was the grandfather.
Yeah. The OS, the original saint.
So because it was such a long time ago, the stories that we're going to be talking about today are sometimes thought of as maybe more parables or myths or kind of supernatural tales or something, when they've been passed down so much. We don't know if any of this stuff has really happened, but we're going to talk about mostly the types of things that he's attributed to doing, and then kind of the legacy that he leaves. You know, he was first and foremost. They say that he brought Christianity to Ireland.
Right, but one thing that I think a lot of people, debate about is where he was actually born, right? Because
Yeah, wasn't
it
he
isn't.
English fellow? Wasn't he?
Well, some say English, some say Welsh, which I guess is technically English? I don't know.
But he definitely
Wales?
wasn't Irish.
No, no, not necessarily Irish. Some even say he was born in Scotland.
Right, right. But you know, when he was 16, he was captured by from Britain, where it's just where the Britain that
Slave
we know,
traders, right?
Irish pirates, yeah, and
Irish pirates.
taken as a slave to Ireland. And you'd think that once you did that, you wouldn't be a Irish fan.
Right, right,
But he went over there as a slave, and he was an animal herder,
right.
and but he actually escaped.
Yeah, and I think he actually later in life said that that kidnapping was something that he was almost glad happened because it was his penance for sins that he had committed, prior, and the sin of not being dedicated to God prior to that.
Yeah, and I think that that kind of repeats itself in the stories that St. Patrick had about that if you don't repent, or if this doesn't happen, then bad things are going to happen to you. A lot of those stories have to do with that. But yeah, he escaped. I think he just got on like went on to a ship and then went home. Right.
Kinda like
Uh,
Napoleon.
yeah, became a deeply religious man and became a cleric later in life. Went back to Ireland to then spread Christianity to this place that he had suffered so much. Now I don't know how long he was taken when he was 16. I don't know. Was that a couple of years? Do you know?
Yeah, I think they said it was around 6 years. He stayed there as a prisoner, for about 6 years, so maybe from 16 to, say, 22, 23, early
Jeez,
20s, and then
those are formative years, when you think,
yeah,
to be a
yeah, I
slave.
mean, um, and you wonder, when you think of slavery, at least in the United States, we have this vision of slavery as it occurred here, right? Which was horrible and brutal. I imagine getting kidnapped by pirates is not a pleasant experience, but you also wonder if he did come to love and appreciate Ireland during that time because it was such an impressionable time of his life.
Hmm, yeah. Now, originally, the only thing I knew about St. Patrick going into this that I had always been told as a kid was that he was responsible for there being no snakes in Ireland. Have you ever heard that?
Right.
Have you ever heard that story?
I have heard that story. As a matter of fact, I heard that that because he brought Christianity, to Ireland, the snakes were chased away, as sort of a
Mhm,
reward from God. But
mhm.
a lot of scientists say that there were no snakes in Ireland, that it was
Right,
too
never have
cold of
been.
an environment, and that, they didn't all just swim out into the sea, banished into the ocean, slithering down from the mountains and such. But
Right.
but really, what is interesting about that is if you think about it, in the Bible, the snake or the serpent is more of a symbol for evil, right? Evil people, evil thoughts, evil motives. And the snake's the one that tempted Adam and Eve. So if you think about snakes more metaphorically, when everybody became Christian, they chased away the evil in the country.
Yeah, that's a more economical story for sure. The story goes that he was fasting on a mountain, right? And that the snakes attacked him, and then he chased them into the sea. But then there's also a story that the same story, but there was demonic birds. Have you ever heard that story? That
No, no.
he banished them into the sea.
And didn't birds
Um,
evolve from snakes or from reptiles?
oh,
So
that's true, and this
that
was a long
kinda
time ago, so maybe that
yeah.
happened. But he was fasting on the mountain, and they say that he ended his fast when God let him be the judge all the Irish. So if you're Irish and you die, you go to heaven, and St. Patrick's the one that judges you. And So there was like this negotiation that he had. I'll end my fast if you let me judge all the Irish, and also spare Ireland from all the stuff that's in Revelation,
Yeah,
in
all the
Revelations,
horrible
right?
endings.
Right. So that was the deal, that he'd end his fast if he would let him judge and spare Ireland of the final, they call it the final desolation, the part of Revelations. What do you think of that? So if you're Irish, you're good.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe if we wanna escape that, it means maybe we need to move to Ireland, right? Now, did you hear anything about his name? Like, that Patrick was actually not his original name?
No, but I heard something about the two Patrick theory. You know about anything that there were two St. Patricks? A lot of this stuff gets
No.
real murky when it comes to, because again, this was a long time ago.
Right, right.
What was
No.
his name? Dave?
uh, Maewyn Sakant.
Mm,
It's a
okay.
very unusual name, but here's where Patrick supposedly comes from, and I did not actually verify if this is true or not, but according to the interwebs, um, Patricus, or maybe it's Patricus or because patriarch, right? That's sort of father, right? So Patricus is Latin for nobleman, and so
Okay.
or father figure can also be Latin for father figure. So that actually was how he came to be called Patrick. Was That's the Americanized version of Patricus.
And like I say, in Ireland, their name is Padraig.
Patrick. Sure, all variations on the original Latin roots, though, right? Because if you think about um, English as a Latin-based language, then that would sort of make sense that
Mhm.
again, patriarchal, all those kind of things um, indicate father and noble, and so yeah, that's supposedly where the name came from.
So that was like his clerical name, his religious name, right?
Maybe it was kind of like his Irish name. I guess how sometimes
Oh
when
yeah,
like
Gaelic.
Chinese or Korean people move to the United States, their real name is one thing, and then they have an
Mm,
American
mm,
name. Maybe
mhm,
it was kind of like that. Or when you call tech support and someone with a very thick Indian accent says, "Hello, this is Bob. How can I help you?"
mhm.
Similar kind of thing. It was the way he fit into the Irish society by having an Irish name. I mean, because nobody's gonna wanna call him, Maewyn, Saint Maewyn. That doesn't sound nearly as good.
Yeah, yeah. I suppose that's true. So you think that was why he changed it? Because later on he would knew he'd be a saint, and he would want to. It would just sound better to Americans.
I think yes, sound better to Americans. That's kinda why everybody does everything, right? It's gotta please the people in the great country of USA America.
Which wasn't a thing back then.
Right, right.
The thing about St. Patrick is that, to me, it's just all these stories that come out, these stories of things that, it wasn't like a biography of a life that you could read about necessarily. They were just kind of interspersing these stories, like I say, that are myths. Do you have any concrete stuff about his actual kind of life that don't involve these stories? Because I'm just full of the stories.
Well, I do know that he supposedly, and this was written by himself, talked to angels and God and had God's the one that actually told him to escape from Ireland by boat. He was visited by an angel because while he was there in Ireland as a teenager, he prayed a lot and he grew his faith and he said that holy voices guided him. One told him to escape from Ireland by boat. One actually is the one that told him to go back to Ireland and bring Christianity to the people who had enslaved him for all those years. Um, he also supposedly raised the dead. Did you know about that?
No.
Well, in order to become a saint, and again, we talked about him being grandfathered in, you have to perform miracles. Well, supposedly he performed a miracle of feeding hungry sailors by miraculously making a herd of pigs appear on the shore for them to eat. And then supposedly he actually raised 33 different men from the dead, and some of them had been dead for a very long time. So very some pretty intense miracles he produced.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. So even if we were playing by today's rules, the canonization, he certainly uh, exceeds that standard, right?
However, these accounts come from his own writings, so independent verification was not a thing in this case.
Wow. So you're claiming that a person could lie about things and then be a saint?
Well, if they were around in like 400 AD, they could or 500 AD.
That's exactly the kind of person you wouldn't want to be a saint, the kind that would lie about it.
But I don't see any reason to believe that he did lie. I mean, who knows whether he told the truth or not. But he wrote that, in his writings, he refers
Yeah.
to raising 33 different people from the dead and
Self-report.
and feeding the hungry, much like Jesus with the loaves and fishes.
Do you know about Dire? Have you heard the story about Dire?
No.
So Dire was a chieftain. You like that band, the Chieftains? There's an Irish band, huh? The
I don't
Chieftains?
I don't know much about him. No.
Okay, they were pretty good.
Was Dire
Um,
their singer?
no, no, this was a long time ago. This is in the days of St. Patrick, and Dire was a pagan chieftain. I guess a pagan is someone who's either not religious or not your religion, right?
I think actually pagan was its own, um, thing, like they worshipped pagans worshiped nature, I think,
Yeah,
more
that's what I mean
more
by not religious, not in the traditional sense, right? That they were grounded into nature.
Yeah, and if you think about it, if you think about, like, Celtic symbolism and the symbolism of sort of that region, um, before Christians, it was very, very pagan, right? It was a lot of things that were almost like Native American symbolism.
Sure, but whenever you hear about pagans, it's usually in opposition to religion, right? The pagans, like in Rome, wouldn't
Yeah.
they didn't like the religious part, right? So this pagan chieftain, so he was the boss. He wouldn't let Saint Patrick. Saint Patrick wanted to build a church up on this hill, and the chieftain wouldn't, named Dire, wouldn't let him do that. So all of a sudden, Dire's horse was out there grazing on the land that he did give him for his church, and all of a sudden, Dire's horses die.
Ooh,
So
wow.
Dire tells his thugs, his men, to go kill Saint Patrick, and they're getting ready to go and kill him, and all of a sudden, Dire struck with illness. Right,
Oh,
so um, and they begged the men went over to St. Patrick and they begged him to heal Dire with holy water. And so he's like, "All right, well, I'll do this, but just remember, you didn't let me build that church up there." So he heals them with the holy water, and then Dire and the horses, Dire is saved, and then the horses come back to life.
okay, okay, so that sorta tracks with the story about him raising the dead.
Just that whole idea of if you do this, then this will happen.
Right.
Uh, Dire rewarded him with a bronze cauldron and gave him the hill to build the church, and that church became the head church of Ireland.
Okay, okay.
But that whole idea of if you cross me, bad things will happen, but if you are nice to me, good things will happen. There's also a story about it's a similar story about Crumdove, a guy named
Okay.
Crumdove, and with bulls. So they sent the bull to kill St. Patrick. Crumdove was a chieftain. He sent the bulls to go kill St. Patrick. But the bull, upon seeing St. Patrick, just like stops and lets itself be eaten.
Wow, wow.
Crumdove demanded that they return the bull. So St. Patrick brings the bull back to life without the meat, just the bones and the skin. Just brings it back to life. And then one telling of the story, Crumdove is so impressed that he converts to Christianity, and then the other tale, Crumdove gets eaten by the bull.
So So there's a
I
lot
like
of
I like
variation.
both of those endings. I like both of those endings. Like one of them, he's so impressed that he's like, "St. Patrick, you're the best. I'm gonna convert, save my life." And then the other story is the bull, the skin and bones bull eats crumb dove.
Well, first of all, what kind of a name is Crumb Dove, right? I mean,
It's cool. It's Cromdubh,
okay,
like crumb
Crumb
dub, but it's
yeah.
pronounced crumb dove.
And
It's a
the other
great
one
name.
was Dire, the other
Dire,
the
yeah, Daire,
king of the
Dire.
pagans or the chieftain of the pagans.
Yeah, those are great names. Crumb dove and Dire.
Yeah, and I kinda wonder, like, a chief of a sort of religious movement, if you call the paganism a religious movement, I wonder if he was called, Holy Dire,
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
like
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 Holy
the Ronnie
Dire.
James Dio song.
Yeah, I was listening to that this morning.
Yeah, rocking out with some, Dio.
Did you ever hear the innkeeper story?
No, no, this is new to me as well.
This kinda reminds me of the, kind of the Saint Nicholas kinda stuff, where he
Yeah,
goes
yeah,
around
like
and just
raising the kids from the dead.
just kinda goes around. I got what are those guys like on patrol when they just say they just went into an inn? What does that mean? Like they just walked in, he
Yeah.
went into the inn and he
I'm here
watched
to
the
inspect this
innkeeper.
inn.
Yeah, just to see how religious you are around here. And the innkeeper was pretty nasty, not great customer service going
Mm.
on, wasn't very
2
generous.
2 stars on Yelp.
Exactly. And St. Patrick was not impressed with the innkeeper, and he told her that a demon was living in their cellar, and that every time she was dishonest or rude to her guests, the demon would get fatter.
Well, I mean, wouldn't you wanna
Not
make it
fat,
would be it would
but
be
not
less.
fat like unhealthy, just
Oh,
fat
okay.
like maybe in his powers, right? Like he
Bigger,
would
bigger,
I
yeah.
mean, I think he
Like
used the word
PHAT.
maybe. I think he used the word fatter, but the implication is if a demon gets fatter, it's getting bigger and his powers are getting bigger.
I'm just
Uh,
imagining like a Jabba the Hutt kind of demon down there going,
oh yeah, no,
"Oh, keep being rude. I am growing large with
yeah,
food and with your hatred."
yeah, yeah. That's true. Maybe I don't know, but he told her the only way to get rid of that demon in the cellar was to change her ways and become more customer service oriented.
That does sound like a Yelp review.
Yeah, he did. He didn't probably use the word customer service, but who knows?
Yeah.
So later, years later, he went back to visit the innkeeper, and turns out she had changed her way. She was serving whiskey to all the guests,
Oh,
and he went into the cellar, and the demon was dying. And then, upon seeing St. Patrick, he bolted out in a flash. And so, because of this, St. Patrick decrees that people should have a whiskey in his memory on St. Patrick's Day. And
oh,
this is called drowning the shamrock. And in some cases on St. Patrick's Day, you actually take a shamrock, the flower,
yep.
and you put it in your whiskey or your beer or your cider, and you drink it. And then when you get to the shamrock, you either swallow it or you throw it over your shoulder for good luck.
This is like the worm in mezcal, right?
Yeah, exactly. Less for a less intense option. It's just a little if you accidentally swallow, it's just like swallowing a leaf.
Or the baby in a king cake.
Yeah, exactly. Which is much more trouble if you
Yeah,
actually
yeah, that's gonna hurt
swallow.
going through. A shamrock would be okay. Well, interestingly, they call that drowning the shamrock.
Yeah,
Because
drowning
because
the
what's
shamrock.
interesting about that is, do you know kinda why the shamrock is associated with St. Patrick's Day?
Does it have something to do with the three leaves and the Holy Trinity?
Yeah, yeah, it's supposedly that was one of St. Patrick's, big metaphors that he liked to use was the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. You can have they are the same in one thing, and yet they're separate because they're different parts of the same thing. So, it seems kinda disrespectful religiously to put it into whiskey.
But isn't shamrock basically clover?
Yeah, yeah, I think shamrock and clover are the same thing.
And clover is just a weed, right?
Well, you don't smoke it or anything
No,
like that, but
I just mean it's something you would see just out in the wild. It's
I
not
guess it's
some kind
legal
of
in
exotic.
Ireland.
It's not like an exotic plant, right? It's just
No,
something
no,
that
no, it's
we see
everywhere.
in, yeah, it's
Absolutely.
everywhere.
It grows in
And
Texas.
and then there is a special four leaf every now and then. You would have a four leaf variety, which is very rare, but you could come across a four leaf clover,
And it's
which would
lucky.
lucky, right? Irish are all about luck.
Just a little bit of an aside, a little bit about me that nobody's gonna care about, but I'll tell the story anyway. I kind of perfected this thing as a kid where I could pick a clover or a shamrock, and I could pick another one, and I could sort of hold them together, break 3 leaves off of one of them, and then hold it behind the one with the 3 leaves, and so one has 1 leaf and the other has 3 leaves, and it would look like a four-leaf clover. Like, I could hold it up in such a way that little
And
sleight
you
of hand.
trick people.
Yeah, I was actually on a variety show, then I was this was my magic trick that I would do.
Yeah,
"I
nice.
found
Yeah,
a four-leaf clover!"
but that was your
Now,
thing, huh?
that was not my only that was a very minor thing, but it's something I actually remember, and I think I've even done it to my kids. Like, I think I've, picked it up in such a way that it looks like four-leaf clover, but I wanna know, Alex, if you remember all of because I know we're kinda going on a little bit of a tangent here, but, the marshmallows in Lucky Charms.
Since we're talking about luck, you mean?
Yeah, and Irish and all that.
Pink hearts,
Yes.
yellow moons,
Yes.
orange stars,
Yes.
blue diamonds,
Yes.
and I'm missing the one before blue diamonds. Let's see,
Green
pink
leaves.
hearts, yellow moons, orange stars, green clovers,
Oh, green clovers, yes.
and blue diamonds.
Blue diamonds. Interestingly, there are actually not just, Lucky Charms, the cereal, there are actually, uh, 7 Lucky Charms that are supposed to actually, bring you good luck, and they're nothing to do with those things. It's the ladybug, the four-leaf clover, a horseshoe, a rabbit's foot, the thrush, I'm not sure what that is, the number 13, and then certain stones.
So the 13 is supposed to be lucky.
Yeah,
Hmm. But that has nothing to do with the cereal.
has nothing to do with this episode, so
Oh. Have you ever been to Ireland?
I have not. I really wanna go. I've been to England a
Yeah.
few times, but I've never been to Ireland. Have you been there?
Yes, yes, I was lucky enough to, go to Ireland with a buddy of mine for about 4 days,
Yeah?
and we did not leave the Dublin area at all.
Okay.
I did because I thought someday I wanna come back with my wife and do all the, seeing the beautiful countryside. I made a point to not do any of that and just stayed in that area called
Stayed in a
Temple
pub
Bar.
the whole time?
There was 250 pubs within walking distance of the hotel.
Wow. Wow.
And there's a lot of, drinking in that culture.
Yep.
There's a lot of drinking, and they drink pretty much only 3 things. They
Guinness?
drink Guinness,
Whiskey?
Jameson whiskey, yeah, and not just any whiskey. It was like Guinness, Jameson whiskey, and cider.
Cider, I was gonna say. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I was kind of looking at in preparing for this, I was looking at sorta some of the most popular Irish beers. Of course, there's stout. Guinness is a stout, right? But
Mhm.
actually, from what I understand, or according to the internet, Murphy's Irish Stout is more popular in Ireland than Guinness. Now, I could be wrong, but
Yeah, I mean, I was only in Dublin, so you might be right. I was only in just a small area of town, but it was a
were you
lot
there
of
for
Guinness.
business or just like
Yes,
a
but I
oh,
was there for a academic conference, but a friend of mine went with me, and, it was just the 2 of us basically, just tooling around, getting in trouble. And we did get in trouble. We went to parts of the country where people were telling us, "You shouldn't be here. This
really?
is a rough place. You shouldn't be here." And, it all, It all went wrong a bunch of times, but it was nonetheless it was fun. Almost got in a couple of fights. Very
Goodness.
aggressive folks we would encounter at times, but yeah,
Probably drunk, you know
seemed like everybody was on the edge of. You know how Boston is kind of has that vibe, like everyone's on
well,
the edge of
it's
fighting you all the
very
time.
Irish.
Yeah,
Um, did you ever read the book Angela's Ashes?
no,
It is really a testament to why people in, Ireland might seem pissed off, 'cause it's a very sad and, tragic. Just everything that can happen to these people keeps happening to them over and over
yeah,
again.
yeah,
But
but also very funny. Like even when things were really getting dire for us, there was always somebody with a joke, or always somebody with even when somebody's threatened to kick your ass, they would say it in such an amusing little way that
and yeah, you'd
you'd
laugh
wanna
at
laugh.
them, and that would just diffuse the whole situation. You'd point and laugh, and they'd go, "Ah, you seem like a good bloke, laddie."
They'd say they'd say something to you and you'd think, "Are you telling the truth?" And they'd say, "No, I'm just taking a piss. I
Ah,
was just taking a piss.
is it taking a piss or taking the piss out of you?
No, I was just taking a piss."
Huh. And
And I
then if
thought,
you
"Well,
if
that's
you
rude."
if you drink too much, that's getting pissed, right?
Yes, if you
Uh,
drink too much
so, like, here, if you ask somebody if they're pissed, that means they're angry.
and
But
there
over
it's
there,
drunk.
if you ask somebody if they're pissed, it means they're drunk, yeah. And
And there
and
were
if
also,
you're
like,
pissed and pissed,
hand
then
signals. There were hand signals that weren't going well for me. It was a lot of cultural
what
missteps that I
what year
took.
was this?
About 2006, I think,
Okay. Yeah.
2007, 7,
You
something.
you were a bit more of a wild card back then, I think.
Yeah. Well, I would hold up 2 fingers to order 2 beers, and apparently if you face your palm towards them, it's like giving them the middle finger. So you'd have to
Really?
face 2 if you wanted 2, you have to face the
So you
back of your
did
hand
2
to
you did
them
2 with, like, almost
constantly,
like a peace sign.
and people would be grabbing my hand and say, "Don't do that." There
Yeah.
were constantly people were telling us, "Not don't do that, don't go here,
Don't go
don't
there.
say that, don't say this, what are you
Doesn't it actually
doing?"
doesn't you're making it sound a lot less fun.
It was a cultural landmine and a place where I thought, "Oh, I'd go there, everybody basically looks like me,
Yeah.
and I'll be fine." You know, and I went there and there was a lot of people that looked like me wearing tracksuits, wanting trouble. No, it was awesome. It was a great time. I had a lot of fun. It was just I remember it as being constantly like saying the wrong thing and doing the wrong thing. It's a lot different than say going to the UK,
Or
right?
Cleveland.
Or Cleveland, right? Um, you know, but and maybe because of the thought that I'm part Irish. I think I thought I was more Irish than 14% when I
Yeah.
went. But
Yeah.
you know, when you think about the Irish diaspora, right? The people around the world that are Irish, do you know or where those people live? Like, do you know where Irish people live now?
Boston.
Sure, a lot of people in Boston. I mean, what about outside the U.S.?
Um, I don't know. I don't know where else there are big concentrations of Irish.
Well, they say in the UK, about 10% of the British population has an Irish grandparent. There was a lot of immigration.
Well, that's not
Um,
surprising.
yeah, about there's about 900,000 people in the UK that were born in Ireland. That were born in Ireland. But you know, there's a lot of stuff going on between those two countries. You know what they called the wars in the 70s, 80s, and 90s between England and Ireland,
I've heard this before, but I don't remember.
called the Troubles.
The Troubles. That
And
sounds like a
again, that's
pitch that sounds like a pitch from Satchel Paige.
but this is again when you go there, everything seems like it's sanitized. Like they're calling this horrible war the Troubles. You see about a car bombing, but it's in Limerick. So you think, oh, that's cute. But you know, when I think our Uber driver told us that Limerick, he was saying it was a pretty rough place. He said that Limerick is basically if you put a dome over Limerick, you should put a dome over Limerick, and it would be the largest jail in the world or something. Like those where all the criminals are. Um,
But I do think the English tend to um, downplay, they have that sort of chin up mentality, so they downplay things. So, for example, like you said, the Troubles, a very non or understated way of putting it. They also often refer to the ocean as across the pond, or
yeah,
so
sure.
they're just saying, it's just a pond. They understate things because they want to carry on.
Yeah, certainly. Well, the troubles were pretty bad. In fact, you weren't allowed to celebrate St. Patrick's Day in the UK in the 70s. There was a lot of car bombs. They still have family feuds over there. You'd still have family feuds between like the McGillicuddies and the McCoys. And it just seems
O'Hannigan's.
so like funny or something to us, but those are serious. Like they involve like murder and bombs and a lot of bad stuff.
So now weren't the troubles in Ireland with Northern Ireland, and
Mhm.
is it so it's divided into 2 countries, right? It's Northern Ireland and just Ireland, or the Republic of Ireland?
Well, Northern Ireland is part of the United Kingdom, so it's part of they're under the reign of the Queen at the time, the King. It's part of the United Kingdom, and then and those people are Protestants,
Right.
and they voted to, they basically are staying with the UK. The other part, the part that we know as the Republic of Ireland, is a predominantly Catholic part, and they want all of Ireland to be its own country. And so the battle between loyalists and Republicans is pretty fierce and has been fierce, and it's cooled a
Yeah.
little now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, hasn't that calmed down,
I mean,
in
that
recent
was
years?
1998 is when they, had those, treaties. So, really it
Yeah.
hasn't been that long, 25 years or so of
So
peace.
on the island, there are 2 different countries, Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland.
Well, really one country, because Northern Ireland's part of Great Britain.
So but it's not
It's not its own country.
it's not, it's actually Great Britain.
Mhm. Yeah.
Huh, I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, they don't have, like, a
So
prime
it
minister or
would be
anything.
like Canada, or Iceland taking over a little part of the United States, and
It's like
and it
kinda well, like yeah. Sure, sure, sure.
no, I could see why it would tick off the Republic people.
Yeah, in fact, one of the mistakes that we did was we were going to a rugby match, and it was cold, and my friend had bought a scarf to wear at the rugby match, and
Wrong color.
it had like the Irish flag, and then like have you ever seen the Notre Dame logo, like the fighting Irish guy,
Yeah, yeah.
So it had that with an Irish flag, and we went into a bar, and the bar was not a Republican bar. It was like even though it was in Dublin, it was apparently that's a very like politically heated thing to do, to just like roll up with that. And
Yeah,
this
it's like
was
wearing
maybe
a Hillary Clinton, campaign shirt in
more
Mississippi.
like more like a Confederate flag. But
Ah,
we were in what we would call like the South, so we thought it was. We didn't even know. First of all, we were just ignorant to any of that, and people would come up to us and go, "Hey, are you a Republican?" We're like, "What? What are you doing?" And they're like, "The scarf. What's the story with the scarf?" And and they'd be like, if you don't want trouble, you take the scarf off around here." And just things like that. We're just so stupid. We just
were
didn't
they a
know.
little bit more tolerant when they heard you were American?
Yeah, we're like, "I'm from Texas." Everywhere we went, we're like, "We're from Texas."
And then did they sort of give you a pass because of
I
that?
think probably. I mean, we
Oh,
we didn't ultimately get in any fights. We just almost got in a lot of fights, and we're not
yeah.
fighters. We're lovers.
Well, St. Patrick was also a lover, I think, right?
Yeah, sure, sure. Well, the Irish rebellion goes back to the 1600s, 1641, when they were the Catholics were being discriminated against, and um, what would happen was the England um, would send people to the rebels, to the New World, to America, right,
Mm,
as indentured servants.
right.
And so that's why we have a lot of Irish here. They came as indentured servants. Between that and the famine, the population of Ireland fell from like 1.5 million to 600,000. So like almost by a third between 1641 and 1652. Just in 11 years, the population went down by like a third. There was a big famine, people weren't eating. So there's a lot of Americans now here because people got sent there as indentured servants, 400 years ago. You know where else there's a lot of Irish people though is Argentina.
Huh.
In
Yeah,
fact, they
yeah.
say like 15% of the population in Argentina is Irish, and they have big St. Patrick's Day parade. And Canada, of course. Canada, about 14% of Canadians are Irish. In fact, in Newfoundland, about 80% of Newfoundland are Irish people.
Really? Okay.
They settled Newfoundland. They say that
Newfies.
Newfoundland's the most Irish place in the world outside of Ireland. You've been there, right?
I've been to Halifax, but,
Oh, that's not
Newfoundland
Newfoundland.
is a little further than that, so, yeah.
In fact, the hockey team, the Toronto Maple Leafs, they used to be called the Toronto St. Patrick's, like in the 20s.
Oh, I did
That's
not know that.
how that's how Irish Canada is, really.
Well, so, you were talking about the drop in population of Ireland. Ireland today is only 5 million people,
Yeah,
and so you have fewer people in Ireland than you do in the Houston metro area.
isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it really is. It really is, an entire
And that
country.
excludes the 2, the biggest city, Dublin, right? Which has probably got, I don't know how many people are in Dublin, but probably 1,000,000 maybe. And
Yeah,
everybody else is maybe bigger, I don't know. Everyone
kinda
else is kinda
spread out.
spread out. Yeah.
Well, so, for St. Patrick's Day, there's a couple of things people do. They drink green beer. They
Mm.
wear green, right? And I think the green connection, as far as I could tell, was just having to do with how the country looks, right? Ireland is a very green the Emerald Isle, very green place, with the not a lot of, at least from the pictures I've seen, and maybe you could say this, were there a lot of trees around Dublin, or was it, like, more grassy kind of fields?
I mean, again, I was only in the city, but flying over it, very green, beautiful, dramatic coastlines. Yeah, very.
Yeah.
They get a lot of rain.
Yep, yep, they get a lot of rain, so everything stays really green, and I believe that, the native language is Gaelic, is that right?
I think officially, but you don't find a lot of people speaking it, at least in the city.
Right, right, but historically, it kinda goes back,
Yeah.
I know that the way you say or I've learned that the way you say Happy St. Patrick's Day in Gaelic is Lola Pandric Sona Duet. Lola
Okay.
Pandric Sonia Duet.
And there are still words that, like, their prime minister isn't called the prime minister; is called the Taoiseach.
Tisha.
Taoiseach is spelled, not like you'd expect it to.
Not like Tisha. There's Tisha and Tisha.
You mentioned the green beer. Do you know what they do in Chicago for St.
No,
Patrick's Day?
no.
They make the Chicago River green. They dump all kinds of food coloring and whatnot into the whole river. Chicago River is green.
Wow,
Um,
that
they
sounds unhealthy.
Yeah, and the largest St. Patrick's Day in the world is in New York City. You know why they picked March 17th as St. Patrick's Day?
Well, because that's the day St. Patrick died and went to heaven.
Is that true?
No, I doubt they know what day he died. No, why did they so hold on, and let's just back up a minute about St. Patrick's Day. I kind of under the impression that it was more of an American thing initially with Saint Um, it was more of a religious festival in Ireland, and it became more of a cultural drinking celebration kind of festival in the US because there were so many Irish people here, and then that sort of spread to the rest of the world. Is that your understanding as well?
I I don't know. It's hard to tell. I don't it's not a holiday here, right? It's not like we get the day off, right? It's like you say, it's more like it's bigger than Cinco de Mayo, but not as big as like, New Year's, right?
Sure.
So it's definitely a party. The thing about St. Patrick's Day, it comes at a great time in our calendar. It's usually kind of during spring break, right? In fact, they picked March 17th because it's the middle day of spring in Ireland.
Ah, okay. So that's more of a pagan thing.
I'm guessing Ireland spring doesn't last very long though. It's probably like March 1st to March 30th or something,
Yeah, yeah.
March
No,
1st to April 1st, March 17th 's right in the middle. I don't
okay.
think spring is really that long. I don't know. But they celebrate this all over, in Sydney Opera House is lit up in green. And the other thing that's interesting about St. Patrick's Day is it falls during Lent, right?
Yeah.
And
So
so a
you're
lot of Lenten traditions, you can't drink alcohol. They waived that for St. Patrick's Day, where you're allowed to drink alcohol during St. Patrick's Day and eat corned beef. And so if you're abstaining from meat and alcohol that day, you kind of it's like and if it falls during Lent, when some days it does, some years it does, and some years it doesn't, I think, um, you don't have to have to do
you don't
that.
have to abstain. Interesting. I actually heard something kind of interesting this year, which will have already passed, when this episode airs, but in 2024, uh, Ash Wednesday falls on Valentine's Day.
Oh, it did, you mean? Yeah, it already did
Yeah, it already did.
a month ago.
Fell on Ash Wednesday. So get
I
your
th-
lover a little ash heart.
or a Shamrock Shake. Did you know and those are good, by the way. Have you ever had a Shamrock Shake?
No, where do you get them?
McDonald's. The
Okay,
green minty shakes, excellent.
I gotta try it.
I think you're onto something though with it being kind of an American holiday. In fact, it's customary for the Irish Prime Minister or the Taoiseach to meet with the US president either on or around St. Patrick's Day every year. Did you know that? That's like a
I
tradition?
I did not know that.
Either our president goes there or they come here, but it's a very special holiday for us, I think, in that it must mean a lot to us in that the prime minister always wants to spend time with the president for there. In fact, the tradition is that the prime minister of Ireland will present our president with a Waterford crystal bowl filled with shamrocks. And this
Ah,
happens
okay.
I think started with maybe Harry Truman, but I know Bill Clinton was doing it. I don't know the last few if they've done it, but that's kind of the tradition. Of course, St. Patrick's Day gets a little bit of a bad rap these days because of the kind of stereotypes of drunkenness and kind of dressing like a leprechaun and getting drunk is kind of tacky.
Pinching people.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. That's definitely tacky. It
If they're not wearing green, they asked for it.
Oh, that's true. Some people say it demeans the Irish stereotype, and it has some harmful effects of perpetuating the Irish stereotype as people that aren't to be taken seriously or just drunks or whatever. There is a lot of drinking in Ireland, but I will say that I didn't see the drunkenness as much as like I see here. I mean, people I think they can handle their alcohol, but they also know not to act like fools. I mean, they're always taking a piss, and they're getting pissed. But I didn't see the amount of public drunkenness that I would see like in an evening out in Austin or Houston or something. So I think
True.
that's important to note that maybe their drinking is a part of their culture, but I think they control themselves better, like a lot of European countries.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of, if you grow up with it, I guess, and you do it all the time, you can't really do it to his excess, or you don't feel it. I don't know. I don't want to I don't want to oversimplify people's relationships with alcohol, but ultimately it's part of their culture, and they, like you said, they try to keep it under control despite doing it frequently.
You know what else I noticed was the role of the bartender over there seemed to be very different than the one here. The bartender's not there to hear your problems and not there to just like shoot the breeze with. The bartender was always busy stocking things and cutting things and just very professional and only there to really take your order. And then once that's done, they let you talk to your friends, but you're not there to just hang out with the bartender. That's not their role. In fact, a couple of times I tried to strike up a conversation and he kind of gave me the vibe like, I'm not here to talk to you really.
I'm not gonna answer your questions, American, and take off that scarf. And you know
take,
what's
take
ironic
off the
about that
leprechaun hat.
What's ironic about that is the fact that, the hit television show Cheers was supposed to be an Irish bar in Boston, right?
Hmm.
And that's all the bartenders did was talk to the
Yeah.
customers, you know?
The other thing was the rugby match that I remember very well is that uh, w- people did not move during that game. They would watch, they weren't up and down like you see in American sports. Once it was halftime, the entire stands emptied and everyone went to go get a shot of whiskey and to the bathroom and then back to their seats. And the whiskey, they just had a tent outside of the stadium and it was like I think it was like €1 or €5, but it was a even like it was an amount where you just give them like a
Right, no
coin or a
change being made.
no change, and it was very efficient. And then there was probably 20,000 people at that thing, and everybody got out and back in and had like a shot of whiskey, and it was probably I don't know 40, 35 degrees or something like that, so it was cold. And it was just I always was amazed at how efficient it was and compared to American sports where there's just so much commotion in the stands where everyone's always getting up to get a beer, get a hot dog, or not paying attention to the game. I really liked that. I thought that was really cool.
So the drink of choice at a rugby match was whiskey, not beer?
Yeah, probably because it was cold. It was just like a
Huh.
big there would be both. There was a Jameson tent, and then there was like a Guinness tent, and there might have been cider also being poured.
Was there a clover tent where you put your shamrock in the whiskey?
It was just so, like, efficient, and there were no seats. Like, you'd stand and there would be a railing that I remember, and you weren't sitting. There wasn't even a place to sit. You would just stand on a railing,
Huh.
and you could stand for 45 minutes, and then, you'd have halftime, and you stand for another 45 minutes, and then you go out to the pub.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah.
Well, you've added to the places we need to visit.
Oh, man. Dublin is a good time. But like I said, you gotta pay attention, or you'll
Kind of
end
the
up at the Clock. I think the place was called the Clock, the pub that I went to, where people were telling me, we and the guy says, "What's the story?" And I said, "What do you mean, what's the story?" And apparently that's like how you say, "What's up?" So right away, I'm like, "What do you mean, what's the story?"
you said you
"What's my
said,
story?"
you said,
Once upon a time.
English an American, an Englishman, and an Irishman walk into a pub.
Oh man, it is rough. Yeah, it's a different place. Read up on it.
Yeah.
I don't know if Rick Steves can prepare you for what we had to go through.
WWRSD. What would Rick Steves do?
All right, man. Well, hopefully, people learned a little bit about St. Patrick's because that's exactly what we gave them, a little bit
A
about St.
little bit
Patrick.
of St. Patrick's, a
But
whole lot of Ireland.
you know what? There's not a lot about St. Patrick out there. It's just a lot
Yeah.
of guessing and a few miracles sprinkled
He
here and
was a
there.
wee mythical lad, St.
Was he
Patrick he
wee?
was. He
Was he
was
actually
wee.
wee?
He was pissed and he was wee.
All right, man. You got anything else?
That's all I got.
All right. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody.
Happy St. Patty's Day
Drown the shamrock.
and gild the lily.
Oh, I woke me up this morning and I heard a joyful song from the throats of happy Irishmen, 100,000 strong. It was the Hibernian Brigade lining up for to start the big parade. So I grabbed the hat my father wore upon St. Patrick's Day, and I wore it tilted on the side the good old Irish way. And we all sang the wearing of the green, a finer sight I'm sure you've never seen. It's a great day for the Irish, it's a great day for fair. The sidewalks of New York are thick with blarney. You'd think that old New York was Kilkenny. It's a great day for the shamrock, for the flags in full array. We're feeling so inspirish because of all the Irish. It's a great